So we often will have a keynote speaker, and this year we didn't get one. So Senator Toms, who is not afraid to speak in front of a group either, and can often speak extemporaneously on issues of freedom and liberty, has agreed to come up and give a few words. So if you would welcome Senator Toms back up.
Thank you, Chris. Well, you guys did a great job on those presentations. It's a little intimidating for me to come up behind a group like that here, what you did. But I'm going to speak on a couple of things, thinking about today. And Chris, thanks for putting this together. We're really very grateful for that. And a couple of things that crossed my mind today. That's why I asked if I could come up and say a few things. You know, on the Bill of Rights, the first Bill of Rights we hear about is freedom of speech, right? But that's not actually the first part of the bill, as you read. That, you know, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibition thereof. Religion was the first thing. The first thing that our founding fathers put down paper to pen was the religion that we get to exercise our faith. And you know, today we're always hearing about when we speak about in a public setting about our faith, somebody's going to yell out, Senator, don't you understand separation of church and state? I get it all the time, town hall meetings, because I profess my faith. And this here Constitution speaks about that. First thing on the Bill of Rights is our faith. So when people challenge me on this, my answer is, when they say, do you not understand the separation of church and state? My answer is, no, I don't. I know we have it because I see the cesspool that we find ourselves in sometimes in this country because we've abandoned our faith, we don't trust in God. We find that we're going to wing it on our own, it doesn't work too well. So, no, I don't. But I want to remind all of you that we had God before we had government, and He's got seniority. So just keep that in mind, folks, when you come in. But I think something else that comes to my mind when we get these challenges about the Constitution and so forth. And I want to read something here that Thomas Jefferson had stated, and I think it's so good. It's one of the most remarkable comments that I've heard about our Constitution, because it's always being challenged, right? We hear all the time in the news where the courts are going to rule whether something's constitutional or not, and we hear all of the people who know everything about everything, right, tell us what's constitutional or not. But this is what Thomas Jefferson had to say, and I thought it was really to the point. On every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back. He's talking about the Constitution. On construction of the Constitution, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted. Recollect the spirit manifested in the debates. And instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, conform to the probable one in which it was passed. When you think about that, because those gentlemen that was working this Constitution out and these Bill of Rights, I'm sure there was a lot of debates. And I can't imagine what was discussed. But looking back now, when we hear today where somebody's challenging everything that comes up, whether it's constitutional or not, well, maybe what Thomas Jefferson was talking about, just settle down a little bit. Think about the discussion when they were putting it together. And maybe we shouldn't be so bold as to speak about something maybe we don't know quite about. And so things like this here, what you're doing here today, is sharing with everybody, is bringing to focus about how fortunate we are that we have a Constitution. There, you know, around the country, around the world I should say, some countries have a Bill of Rights, like Canada's got one, England has one, but they're nothing close to what we have, not even close. So we are fortunate, and I hope that since this election's come about, I think there's an attitude that's changing. I hope it is, that people are starting to recognize just how lucky we are and fortunate that we have what we've inherited. We didn't fight for it. We weren't in the Revolutionary War. I was reading a story recently, where there was a group of teenagers, oldest one being 17 years old. These young boys decided they wanted to get in the fight on the Revolutionary War. They wanted to enlist. There was a commander that tried to explain to them they're a little too young for this, but they were determined. And ultimately, they did get enlisted. He put in charge 2 senior officers to be in charge of these groups of teenagers who wanted to fight for freedom. And the 2 senior officers, one was 21 years old and the other one was 20. These young boys, they positioned themselves in a battle in New York where the British had 14,000 troops in the country. And they had sent an advance unit to go into this town. They was going to take part of New York. These young warriors established themselves in positions along the way, hidden in brush, to the point that they could not, the British unit could not advance forward. They held them back. For the larger branch of our revolutionary fighters could come up and hold them back and defeat them. So that's kind of neat when you read stories about the people back then, how important it was for them to gain their freedom and establish it, and what they were willing to risk their life. So I just want to point one other thing is reflecting back on this. There's a song that came out in the 70s. It was called The Big Yellow Taxi. And it had a lyric in it that said, "Don't it always seem to go that we don't know what we've got until it's gone?" And sometimes I'm looking around today in the world we're in, I wonder just how many people don't recognize what they have. And I don't want to find out what we've had until it's gone. I don't want to lose it. And so things like this here is very crucial that we can inspire our young children to get involved and understand how precious it is that God's given us this. And speaking of God, in our Indiana Constitution, they reference God Almighty, the Creator, in the first page of our Constitution. God is referenced multiple times. So when people tell me, "Don't you understand separation of church and state?" I don't think it's out there. I don't know where you're getting it, but no, it's not. It's not a separation. We do have it. And also, look at these 2 books. You see how small they are? Just this week, our Congress was willing to pass a bill of 1,547 pages. 1,547 pages. Can you imagine if we had this government back then establishing a constitution? You certainly wouldn't be able to get it in your pocket of your polo shirt. So again, we're very fortunate what we have. We don't want to lose it. And I just thank you again for the opportunity that you put this together. And you point out that the kids cannot read cursive writing. That's terrible, because a lot of our documents are written in cursive. And every year at the State House, we have tried to pass a bill to put cursive writing back in our schools. It gets defeated every single year. Every year. Senator Lyson has the bill. I'm always on the bill with her. And she's all of us that are on that bill are ridiculed because we're wanting to get cursive writing back in schools. I don't know why there's such a resistance. But the children here that are growing up that won't be able to read it or write it, that's really going to be a handicap for them. And right now, I don't even know if we've got the teachers that could teach it, because they've grown up in an element that they never learned how to write. So don't lose it. I don't want to find out what it's worth after we've lost it. So anyway, I want to share that with you guys, and thanks again for this.
He doesn't have speech writers. He just does that.